All right. So
No, cute.
this is
No, cute.
what's today's date?
Yeah.
September 8th, 2013. There we go. That's the start we wanted. We're here with my Aunt Josephine Diomede. What was your maiden name?
Zocco. Zocco.
Zio?
Z. Z like
C.
a zebra.
Oh, Z. Yeah, Z.
Zocco. Zocco.
And Aunt Josephine was married to my Uncle Jimmy, who was my father's brother. So we want some Diomede history today, and you are our resident scholar.
Big
So
deal.
basically, start off by telling how'd you meet Uncle Jimmy?
Oh, God. One day we took off from work, a few ladies and myself, and we went to Maple Crest, which was a pond in, I forget now. I think it was Ridgewood. Well, anyway, Ridgewood. And these three, well, they had uniforms on. One was a sailor, which was your father. My husband was in Army, and another fellow was in the Army. Three of them. And there was three of us ladies sitting on the side of the beach there. So, of course, they came out forward, and we made friends. And my husband, which was Jimmy, asked me if I could swim. I said a little bit. So I said, come on, I'll take you into the water. So we went into the water, and I did learn a little bit. And that was the extent of it. Then we all went back on the beach. And he asked me for a date. So I said, well, if you want to take me out, you have to come to my house to pick me up, because that's my ruling. He said, sure, I will. And he did. We went out at night. He met my family. And that was the extent of it. He had to go back. He was stationed in California at the time.
What year was that?
1944. No, well, 43, because I got married in 44.
You got married. What day did you get married?
October 29th, 1944.
Oh, October. That's a popular month for weddings. My parents too, October.
Yeah, I know.
29 is the popular day. My son was born in 29. I was born in 29. Now she's telling me that she got married on the 29th.
I didn't know that.
And my husband died on October 28th.
Wow.
Wow.
Those days I don't remember.
So the Diomede family, they had Uncle Jimmy and my father's. Their parents were what was their first names?
Anna, Mary Ann, and Antonio.
And Mary Ann, what was her maiden name?
Albanese.
And how did she get over here? Do you know, like what her background was? Was she born here or from
No,
Italy?
she was born in Italy. They were both born in Italy.
And they met in Italy. Do we know that?
Yeah.
So they met in Italy, and then they came over together after they were married,
That I don't know.
and they lived in Hoboken, right?
Yes.
And how many children did they have?
Well, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. 4 boys and 1 girl.
They had 5 that lived. There was some
They
that
lived.
died, right?
Yes, 3 died.
And the oldest was what? Joseph? Was
Yeah,
Uncle
Joseph.
Joe was the oldest one?
Yeah, he was the oldest.
And then Paul,
Then Aunt B.
then Aunt B, and that was Beatrice was her full name?
Beatrice. Her real name was Cecilia. But she
Cecilia.
didn't like it because they used to call her Cecilia, and so she changed her name to Beatrice.
Okay, and then they had your husband, Uncle Jimmy, right?
Uncle
James.
Jimmy. And then
And
5 years later, your father.
So they were 5 years apart. And how far apart was Uncle Paulie and Uncle Joe from them? Like 10, 15?
No, 10 or 15, no.
No, they were close.
Closer than
They were
that.
closer. And with the Diomede family, they lived on Adams, was it? What
No,
street
they
did
moved quite a few times. The last time was Adams.
the last time?
Yeah, that's when I went. I know they lived on Clinton once, Clinton Street. They moved quite a few times.
Oh, did they live by the Brandes?
Jefferson.
No,
on
the,
Clinton?
the thing was at that time that people really lived in apartments, and they would go whether they had a lesser rent or their landlord was easier on them, because everybody was having children, so that some people didn't even want kids in their building. So the reason people changed these apartments was cost, and if they were happy, they or close to their job. Remember, no cars.
Right. So the father's name You said Antonio?
Antonio.
And his name is on Ellis Island, right? I think. Did anybody go to Ellis Island?
Yes, it is.
But we don't know if Mariana's name is there, right?
No, we didn't go down that road. I'll
I
do
didn't
it.
see
I'll
his
do
name on it, and I was there.
Huh?
You saw it in Ellis Island?
It's here, Antonio and Vincenzo.
Well, I was there, and I didn't see it.
They have. What do you have though? You have the document of
Ancestry.com.
ancestry that their
Yes, I
names are
looked
on in the
for it.
book. You looked in the book for their name.
I looked for both of them. They was not on it. Either my mother and father, and they came that way too.
The do you know about anything about? Like I've heard he was born in Greece. Or do you know anything about
He wasn't
that?
born in Greece. He was born in Italy. His parents moved to Greece because they were importers. They were importing cheese and olive oil.
But Diomede is a Greek name.
It is.
So he was born in Italy. His parents went to Greece.
He had to be born in Italy. That's where he met his mother, his wife.
And was he in a war or something? Like I heard he was in a war and he spoke 7 languages or something.
He
Is
did
that
speak
true?
7 languages, but I did not know he went to war.
You don't know if he was in any of the wars over there?
No.
Is
But
there
I know he spoke a lot of languages.
is there anything else you know about him or
He worked on the docks. That's all I know.
he was a longshoreman?
Yeah, longshoreman.
That's what's in Hoboken.
Yeah.
And now I know
He worked very little. He didn't like to work.
they Mariana, she lived like to 90 or something, didn't she? Like, did she live to 90?
No, she was 90. She was 80 something.
80 something?
84, I think, Grandma.
My cousin
84.
Yeah.
84. And how old did Antonio live to be?
She would know that. How old Grandpa Diomede? How long did he live? How long did
Well, I know
he died?
he died the year my son was born. Well, I was pregnant when he died. Jimmy,
How old is
So
Grandpa?
what year is that?
He died.
1950.
50?
That's
Okay,
impossible.
Mommy told no.
Why is it
Mommy told me.
impossible?
I remember as a kid seeing
Yeah.
him.
Of course,
And
after that
Josephine.
you've seen him.
And
He didn't
Josephine.
die then.
My
You
mom.
just said
I
the year
said-
I was born, he died.
No. And Josephine, my mom told me that in April of 52 he died. I was born in June of 52.
I mean, I was pregnant when he died.
With
Right,
Cheryl.
yeah, right,
right.
Cheryl.
Maybe
not
Cheryl.
me.
Maybe Cheryl.
Cheryl.
But wait,
I remember
go back to
saying-
grandmother Anthony.
Yeah.
As far as your grandmother, I had to babysit with your grandma. Well, you weren't born with Edward and Mary Ann, and I want this documented because Mary Ann got this from an Italian teacher or something. But your grandma Enrico, Diomede always taught me this song, which was the na na na, Chalava di papa, la bipalu canuccio usagala puffama. Every one of my grandchildren know that because of your grandmother.
Yes.
I never even heard
And
it.
It's a
always,
ridiculous
it's a
song,
ridiculous
Josephine.
song.
I never
And
heard
then
it.
Marianne,
Okay.
it's about a man
Interpretation.
smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
But she never
Anthony,
told
the
me.
interpretation is
Always.
I don't know. Na na na, Jalava di papa. La pipa la canucci el cigari and puffama. It's about a cigar smoke.
But she taught me, and
I know.
there
And
is
that's why
one
it's
of my
precious,
grandchildren
not
who
because
does
what it
not
means.
know her. But I love the way it sounds.
I sing it to my grandchildren.
I love the
That's
way it
funny. She
sounds.
never told me about that.
Well,
My husband
I got it
and
all.
him, they got christened together.
oh my God. So interesting.
She waited 5 years.
Kept it all.
My father
I
loved
don't know, I gotta,
all
you know.
He lived in original sin for 5 years.
My father.
Did she have twins or something that
Yeah,
she
she had
lost or
twins. They
something
were-
like that?
They were stillborn.
Oh,
How sad.
2 girls.
So why wasn't
Trauma.
Joe on this? Because he was born in Italy. Right. Okay.
My
you got it.
father loved all of his brothers
And he
and
was
sisters,
he was
but he
really good
told
Italian.
me.
When your father was little, excuse me,
Yeah.
my husband couldn't get rid of him. He used to tag along all the
Of
time.
course. But you know what, Aunt Joe? That goes with the story. When my father talked to me about his siblings,
My mother kept all
he
this
said,
stuff.
I loved all of my brothers and my
What is
sister.
this?
There's one sister. But
This
my
is,
favorite was Uncle Jimmy.
The seals.
And
I
he didn't say
remember
Uncle, he said my
Yeah.
brother Jenny.
Yeah, that was her name, her birth name.
He loved Uncle Jimmy. They were very tight, close,
Yeah,
you know.
whatever.
And of course, Uncle Joe. Oh, he loved all
Well,
of
this
them.
was,
Uncle Paulie.
they were
but
guardians for,
him and Uncle Jimmy had a special.
That's the Joe Diomede's family.
right, they were that's
And
the
you know
letter of
what?
guardianship.
They had a real rough time with those kids. Mom, your grandmother and grandfather took them in I think there was 2 girls and a boy. They took him in and raised him. That's the father that was killed in the docks. And then when they were adults and they left, they had the nerve to say that Grandma and Grandpa stole all their money and left them with nothing. That I remember.
This was a family they took in.
They took in, they were nieces and nephews.
They were nieces and
Grandpa's
nephews
children.
of
Grandpa's grandchildren.
Grandpa Diomede.
His brother's children.
They took his brother's children in because
After
his
he
brother
was
got killed
Right,
as a longshoreman.
right. And they did everything for those kids, and then when they were grown up, they left, and they had the nerve to say that they stole all their money that they were supposed to take.
So they were raised with
Grandpa and Grandma.
all the kids.
Yeah.
They were as old as them,
Yeah,
the
they
same
slept
ages.
all over
But
the
there was
place.
no money the way there was today. There wasn't, people didn't sue when these things happened or whatever happened. They just had bare necessities. They fed, they clothed them, and they gave them encouragement. That was it. That was it. There was no extra help. None.
How did Uncle Jimmy propose to you? You remember?
Just in a letter, just
In a letter?
back and forth writing, saying when we're going to get married. He wanted me to go out to California to get married. My parents just did not want me to. They said, if he wants to marry you so bad, the next time he comes on a furlough, you can get married. Don't you think a month after he did come back, I had to get my license, I had to have a wedding dress made, the church prepared, and we got engaged in the morning and married in the afternoon.
God.
And what did you have? Where did you have a little reception? What did
In
you
my
have?
mother's basement,
Wonderful.
Oh my God, I love it.
And what church did you get married
St.
in?
Francis in Hackensack.
Wonderful.
And Josephine, what attracted you to Uncle Jimmy? His
Tell us his good
personality,
qualities.
his looks,
He was a
his
good
red hair.
person.
He was.
Very,
What?
he was very,
He was a good person.
you know, he was good.
He was good.
Red hair and freckles.
He was very affectionate and everything,
Yeah.
you know.
Wonderful.
Oh, he's tired.
They all had, I mean, you know, I have the least amount of memories, but I remember them all having like very mellow personalities most of the time. Like my father, your Uncle Jimmy, right? They were like very mellow. Was the parents like that? Like Grandpa Diomede was mellow guy?
Oh, they were good with them.
Josephine, who would you say was the most difficult of all the children to get along with?
Well, Joe, because of his problems.
Okay, but
But besides
But
that,
he had
that's
it-
natural. That's natural,
in the,
yeah.
yeah, but of all of them, besides Uncle Joe, who do you think was the most difficult?
Well, I know my husband was very fussy.
Aunt B.
Well, Aunt B, well, she was outside it.
She didn't even want to recognize.
But that
her.
was
She
because of
Italian.
her. That was because of who she chose to be her spouse.
No, 'cause he
No?
was nicer
Before
than her.
that.
Before that, I don't know. Really?
She didn't get married.
Come on, Anthony,
I
get
don't care what
this.
she got me.
Really?
He was nicer than her.
Yes.
When we went over to
Really?
their house,
Oh, please.
he was always kind to us. She was not.
She used to put
And you know
sandwich
why I
on
don't
her
get
food.
that? I'm a sister.
I
I'm
never
a
knew
sister.
this.
Aunt Jerry, I'm a sister to 3 brothers. The sister should have a heart. If the brothers do, it's a good thing. If they don't, the sister has a heart. And I told you this at Red Lobster. Aunt B, well, she didn't. God forgive me.
Really, yeah,
didn't
but
have,
she wasn't home when she got married. She eloped.
Okay, you told me that. But you know what? I'm just saying,
It wasn't in her.
it wasn't in her to be.
It wasn't in
Well,
her
first
to
of all,
nurture.
she didn't want to marry an Italian.
Yeah.
She didn't.
She was ashamed of
Yeah,
it.
she was ashamed to be an Italian.
Absolutely. I have a couple in my family, not you guys. You guys, I'm proud of you, but I have a couple who are, and they only want to be a different nationality, and
That's
it's so
crazy.
strange.
You know what? If I
Reap
wasn't
the
Italian,
best of
I would want to
both.
be Italian because there's nothing better than Italian.
My
I'm sorry.
father-in-law was Dutch, Irish, and German. He loved everything about our culture. What a sweet man. Sweet.
My sister eloped.
I
My mother
never
didn't even
knew
know she got
that.
married.
Where do minority?
I
Then
swear.
after a couple of years, they
Did
married.
when you came back from Texas, like what would be a normal like weekend? Like did you go visit the parents or you go
My
visit?
mother and father lived only 4 blocks away from me. We spent a lot of time with them.
So you go to your parents' house? each weekend.
Yeah.
I have some old footage of you at like my parents' apartment,
Oh, yeah.
having cake and coffee, like in the
Yeah.
documentary I told you about. Yeah. They're sitting at a table,
Yes, yes.
and it's Uncle
And some
Jimmy and Aunt
parties, too.
Josephine.
Oh, I
It's
remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I
it's
remember
Uncle Dickie and Aunt
coming
Ann
downstairs at your mother's
and our
basement
parents.
and cooking all the shrimp she used to make, and every year she used to make the eels for my husband.
Oh,
She used to always make a little dish because I
Yes.
wouldn't cook them.
my father.
You make them?
I only made them for Eddie Diomede.
Yeah.
Anthony?
No, but you know what's so funny? My father loved eels. We
Absolutely.
didn't, but
Well, Jim did too.
his daughter, Rachel.
Oh
loves
my God,
eels.
really?
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Listen,
she
my
likes it,
family
yeah.
did cook eel,
Yeah,
but
No, we never
Eddie
did either.
Diomede loved eel.
you either love
When
him
my
or you
sister
don't.
Rachel died, the first Christmas Eve, Anthony, you and
Yeah, we
and
came
your
over to your
girlfriend
house.
But
came to my house. I had to cook eel 3 ways, only for Eddie Diomede. In the oven, gravy,
Where do we go?
and fried. And only because my brother-in-law was so special did I do that. Because I never even made a piece of eel touch my lips. And he would go, "What's wrong with you? It's tasting better than chicken." And I would go, "Eddie, I'm only doing this for you." Because Rachel wasn't here anymore. But he was an appreciative person. He appreciated anything if you do. If he was eating and you gave him a napkin, he was grateful.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You were very lucky with the father that you guys had.
Yeah, I think that because their father was like happy-go-lucky, mellow. Was the mother Mariana like that too? Was she like a good personality as far as mellow, or she was uptight? Or
She was uptight all the time.
she was tense, uptight.
She used to always say I wear the pants in the house. I don't know where the hell she got that from.
Well, it's parts of what you have to know. It's part of
You're a
what you have
tough
to
cookie, though, Aunt Joe. There's no doubt about that.
And it's always nice to tell the truth. Of course, we have to color it a little bit, but it's always nice to tell the truth.
You can't be.
But I'll never forget. I'm going to tell a story here.
I didn't say it. I'm just.
There were, every family has their quirks or whatever, and for a long time we didn't see Aunt Josephine and Uncle Jimmy. And I don't know how many years it was that, really we didn't get a chance to see you guys. You and my parents didn't,
Just slipped.
And and you guys just came and knocked on the door.
Yep.
And I was in the house at the time. My mother looked out the window. She said to my father, "It's Josephine and Jimmy." And you just came and knocked on the door because it was time to get together again. It was, and I'll never forget that moment.
Very nice. But you see, Josephine, in life, you don't always know
Let's go see my brother.
what they remember as children.
She always wanted that, my father.
And you guys just showed up because, again, I remember we didn't get together for a
Maybe
long
people
time.
were just too busy, but to think how you and your
Were the
husband
children?
did that.
Well, well, Marianne had to be born, no?
How old were you?
Oh, I
about?
was like 10 years old or so,
Had an
Yeah.
unconditional.
and it was, and I'll never forget that you guys came, and from that time on, we saw you much more on a regular basis,
Was that because of the funeral?
It
I
could
guess
be.
it could go back to
You know
that,
what?
but I
It could
remember it
be.
was a long time.
It could be. How do you get over that?
And your parents came and knocked on the door, and that was, I'll never forget that moment, because I was in the house when that happened.
Who? Which? The mother's funeral? Their mother's funeral?
He didn't want that
No,
to
maybe
happen.
Cheryl. How
Right.
old was Cheryl?
And that was,
Yeah, that had to be
it's
around
amazing the
Cheryl.
things you remember,
And let's
but
not
I
forget
I
Cheryl.
remember that day, and after that, we saw you were over, Saturday
to
nights.
just
Remember the
something to
time
corridor
Uncle Jimmy laid
Josephine would go
cement
through
for
in
somebody,
life.
and he did it in his bare feet,
Oh, that was my brother-in-law.
and his feet got all irritated,
That
burned,
was Uncle Goose.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. Yeah.
because you guys
That
were
was
over the
down-
house. You
that
came
was-
over the house,
That was in brick.
right? A few weeks later, whatever, you
beautiful
came
house.
over the house, and
Yeah.
he was still.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, as you're saying that, I remember my brother-in-law Eddie, as I call it, Daily Bugle, about the house in brick that somebody in your family owned, and how that your husband did all of that. I don't remember. I'm just now. That was like stuck someplace in the memory bank.
Beautiful house.
She's
Because
dead.
what a house.
They're both dead today. My sister and my brother.
Yeah.
But they have one son who lives in Florida, and he has.
And then I remember the other thing I remember, you were over our house in 308 Clinton Street
Clinton.
when your nephew got killed.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Your husband, your Uncle Jimmy answered the phone, and he was, so that somebody, whoever was telling him over the phone,
Yeah, my brother.
that somebody got, now I don't know, what was your nephew's name?
Peter.
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 But Uncle Jimmy thought it was Jimmy first,
Yeah.
you know, because he picked up the phone, and I remember his voice, you know, and he's like, and he thought something happened to his son, but then it turned out to be your nephew.
Yeah. That was,
Something
he was
exploded
killed in an
or something,
explosion
right?
with public service.
Oh my God, I remember now.
And he left 3 kids, and you know what? He's dead. His wife is dead, and his one son is dead.
Oh,
I
wow.
lost a nephew.
But I remember it was, we were in 308,
That
and
wasn't your nephew, that was your brother.
My brother Petey, I'm saying, yeah, that was my brother Petey that was killed.
Right.
But I'm saying he's dead, his wife's dead.
Yeah, I
and,
know that,
And my
but-
nephew Peter, his son is dead.
But that wasn't
How was he killed?
your nephew.
In an
Explosion.
explosion in public service.
Checking out a gas leak at
And
a
he was
dump.
you know what, I thought it was
I
a nephew,
remember,
but
he was like my
No.
favorite.
Uncle
I
Jimmy, your
remember-
And
father
do you know
was
he wasn't even
confused on the
supposed to be
phone
working
call,
that day. He took
because whoever
somebody's
was
place
talking
was
to
the
him,
guy
he
out.
thought it was you.
He was
Oh,
such
wow.
a happy, positive, wonderful guy. I cannot believe.
Yeah, he died a
You
year
know,
before
as you do
Cheryl.
these stories, and you could remember them, but if you don't hear them,
Yeah.
you'll never remember them.
Right.
I could remember that, but
Well, I remember them all. They're all in my
of
heart.
course you're your family.
They're all in my heart.
You
I
had
remember them.
one brother?
No, I had 4 brothers.
4 brothers. What were their
How many
names?
sisters?
6 with me. 10 children.
God.
What were their names from oldest?
Christ.
Do you know?
Sadie, Nellie, Jenny, Francis, Josephine, and
Who was it
Antoinette. The boys were Charles, Peter, John, and Salvatore.
Wonderful.
And who's left? Who's...
Josie, me, Fran, Nellie, and John.
Wow.
1 boy and 3 girls.
You're the oldest?
No.
No. My sister Fran is the oldest. She's going to be 92 this month.
No, she's not.
Oh, Nellie, no, she's 98.
Ooh, God bless.
God, Jimmy, you have a good.
No, I got a bypass already. I got a time.
Jimmy, you've been given a new lease on
I
life.
got an don't believe that bullshit.
Well, that's what the doctor told my
Yeah,
husband,
you're
and my
gonna feel
husband
better than
believes
you
it.
did before. I
He goes,
know
"You got 20
your
years,
plumbing's
Jimmy.
already
You got
done."
20
Yeah,
years."
I know.
Ah,
Jimmy,
When I wake up every morning, I remember what the doctor says,
But
and then
you
I
know
feel
what?
my body.
but look at the longevity in her family.
Yeah, that's true, but they didn't have bypasses.
that's
Now,
all right.
thank
Some
God
of
now
them.
they do.
Jimmy,
They're the
improve
ones
that,
that
I have
look
two
Jimmy.
at
stents
the
in
young
my heart.
ones, Sal and
Right.
Anthony, they all went in their 50s.
Hello, beat him up.
Yeah, really.
You have to have a better
Okay,
attitude.
That's
you had a
Jimmy.
problem. Jimmy,
He
you had a
knows.
problem. They
He just likes to say
discovered it
that.
and they
He
remedied
knows.
it.
He's blessed.
My husband always goes,
do
it's
the
going to
average
give me
on a-
20
on a
years.
bypass patients,
Man, go
their
back to
average
church.
lifespan.
No, look at Letterman. Regis.
Who's looking at that? They just had it done too.
What did Uncle Jimmy do for a living?
Oh, my husband?
Yeah.
He was a sewing machine operator.
Didn't you work in a slipper factory?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
sewing,
that in
sewing
Hackensack.
machine.
So he would
My
he would
dad told me.
sew things, or he would
Yeah,
Put
sew
the soles
slippers.
on slippers.
Oh my
soles on slippers, and he did that for how many years?
Horrible job. Oh, 30
30
years.
years.
always had nice
30 years.
Yeah.
Did you have nice slippers though over the years? You guys always had nice slippers. Hope so.
What was the name of the company he worked for?
Goldberg's Slipper
Yes.
Factory. They're in China now.
Wasn't it on like River?
Were they in
Road?
Hoboken?
Yeah.
Where were they?
Oh my God, I remember that. Because every time we would pass it, my dad would say, "My brother worked there." You
That
know?
was his downfall.
Why?
Because in the Army, he was a staff sergeant.
Wow, he made staff sergeant?
Right.
Yeah, they didn't.
He rode around. He had guys chauffeuring him around the
Jeep.
Jeep, he used to tell me.
Back
What the hell did you
then,
end up
they-
doing, working for Goldberg
There was
for?
no opportunity
Made a living,
for
Jimmy.
them
That's what
to
was
rise
what's
to their
important then.
potential,
They
you
all
know?
worked for Goldberg. That was a sweat factory because I was there when I was 16. And I couldn't believe the thermometer in that place in the afternoon, 116, 120. And
Didn't Dad do
and
the
these
radio thing or
machines
the
are
televisions,
running like,
honey?
He
Didn't
did
you do
that on the
televisions
side.
on the side? And
Oh, that was horrible.
Yeah,
Horrible.
we used to bring the television over to your house,
Yeah, it's a fix.
and he had his workbench downstairs.
Oh, right, he did
Today it's
TVs.
just
Yeah, he enjoyed that.
Yeah,
The
fixed
money you
our
make today,
TVs.
but back then.
And you got the engineering.
Well, you know what, Jimmy?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I think about it, they came from nothing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
They came
We
from
made a
nothing.
living. That's how we got along.
Yeah, right. You had
And I
to,
worked a
you
little
had to
bit.
squeak it out, right?
And after World War II, when people got out of the army, guys got out of the army, come back home and start your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody do to stay in the army, and
Where do you wanna go?
because you weren't making a lot of money back then, not like today.
No.
You know,
He's a
so-
good one.
And you had
boy.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wanted to get home to their family.
For his
Get out of
age.
the
Take
army.
care of
I
them.
can't believe for his age.
I remember coming over to your house. You had a poodle, I think. Did you have a poodle?
Yeah, we had a pool in the back.
And they had a
Poodle.
pool.
Poodle.
Because
Poodle.
Did you have a poodle?
Vanity.
Yeah, Vanity. That was my
But
sister's
the
dog.
pool in the backyard, Jim.
I remember the
It was
poodle.
like a little pool, but my dad, your dad, myself, and Cheryl in that pool, and your dad would go like this, and the water would
Yeah,
squirt
with his
up, and
hands,
I thought it was like that was the biggest thing I ever saw in my life,
He did that,
and it was such a fun time because we just enjoyed simple things like it. Nowadays, you have to like do magic tricks to entertain these kids.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just being together and doing silly stuff, you know.
Did you go-
However, some of that stuff is still good worthy today because what they see on TV, even though it's extensive and blowing up and whatever, it's still the wonderment of what people, when you pay attention
Yes.
to
You
somebody
recycle,
else,
John?
Yes.
Yeah.
you've given a gift to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Did you go, like my parents, you know, went down the shore? And did you guys go down the shore, like, often or as a family?
Every summer.
Did you,
We
where'd you
went to-
stay? Did you stay in Brick or did
Well,
you have a,
if we went to the Diomedes, it was Keensburg, and if we went to her family, it was Seaside Heights.
Ah.
Right, right.
But wait,
So-
we had a house in Brick.
Brick.
Even when we rented from Louise, and I remember this was when Cheryl was really sick. You guys, it was a Sunday, and I remember you. I don't know if you, but your mom and dad and Cheryl came down, and we were there, and Cheryl and I played. We were same age, playmates. I loved her, my favorite cousin, and we would just like to. And then at night we went on the boardwalk, you know. And it was like, whether it was Point Pleasant or Seaside, it didn't matter. But it was so much fun, and that was
How-
our childhood.
How old are you?
63 and one.
Okay, so you're 8 years older than me. So I was about 9 years old. We were renting Louise's house down
Yeah,
the shore,
right.
okay?
Yeah.
So
Cedarwood.
you guys came to visit. You were down there somehow with your parents.
Okay.
And in the front yard, they had pebbles, you know, rocks. So you come on with your bare foot, like I'm walking with my bare feet going, you know, what's the matter? Your feet hurt? This doesn't hurt. And you're jumping up and down on the pebbles.
That would be him.
He's tough, John. Tough. He's still
The
tough.
out-
He's a He-Man, a
How do you do
He-Man.
that?
the outdoorsman?
I had to put my
And Joseph,
Not like
you
I had to put my
remember,
shoes on.
and Joseph, you remember the name of the
He does
place
have a high tolerance.
where I think might have been across the street from Uncle Paul and Aunt Dolly's bungalow. The three-story
Where we
where
rent.
stood.
We rented that.
Do you remember the name of that place?
No.
Was it Ray's? Was it Ray's place?
Yeah,
Maybe
it was.
Ray's.
Ray's.
You could be
But you know
right.
what? We rented that, and Mommy and Daddy and Grandma we brought our own sheets
Pans,
Pans,
Pans.
pots and
Oh my
to
pans.
make gravy and meatballs
dishes.
and
There was no
macaroni.
paper
I mean,
plates back then.
No,
Oh,
no.
who heard of paper
But
plates? I
the
mean,
most important thing about that is
hello.
when you're a city girl and I'm a city girl, I still say to my husband, I could move back to Hoboken in a heartbeat. Can't pay the rent, but I could move back in a heartbeat. When you're a city girl and we would go there, no matter what, Edward, we had a week of whatever we wanted. So if we went to the boardwalk every night, like with my grandchildren, I go, you can only play 3 games. You can only do this. You can only go for 10, 20 rides. We had no limit because
Yeah, no.
there was nothing else. There was no other entertainment other than that week. And so we didn't mind carrying the sheets
Yeah.
and the
Right.
pots and the
there was
pans.
so
And the
much-
dolly
and
was
I
across
had
the
motion
way.
sickness.
Right?
There was no Dramamine, and I would throw up the whole time.
Right.
We walk a block to the beach.
Block to the beach.
The boardwalk.
And how nice!
Remember the
No
water-
sand. You walk down the steps.
Oh, wait a minute.
You sat on the edge if it was high tide. I have
High-
photos
Remember the
I
high
had-
tide used to come in
on the
and
edge.
she
Yeah,
come with the
Jerry.
ropes.
Wait, I have a story that involves you and Paulie. Mommy in her dementia, let Paulie and him take me to the beach.
Oh no.
And wait a minute, I fell asleep on my, and I'm light. I'm still like sunburned from Florida. I am light, and I laid on my stomach. I fell asleep. They went in the arcades and all this stuff. I woke up. There was nobody. I was little. There was nobody around that I knew. I started to cry. The sand was so hot. I walked along the water edge, and I felt like wet on my back. I went like this. There was little blisters on my back, and they broke when I
How
touched
old were
them.
you?
I think 4.
Oh, you were peanut.
And they left me, and you know, I learned to be tough. I mean, you know, and I felt like I didn't know blisters. I'm like, why is this water on my back? You know, and I found my way home to Aunt Dolly's. And
Block away.
Yeah,
it
one
doesn't
block.
matter. I
Not
was
even,
four,
yeah, 4.
14
Yeah.
years old.
Block.
You know,
Block.
Edward 4. And I went back. They were lost in the arcades. I went back. I was crying the whole way. And when I got back, my mother was like, "Where's your brother?" I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm sure you got yelled at, but
Probably.
but it was like, listen, that was the nightmare of my life as a child that I remember.
But how do we
Listen,
remember Kingsburg? Wasn't it great? I mean,
great.
think, now I
Other
got
than
Uncle
that, it was
Eddie,
great.
Uncle Eddie, the Duke of the Duke, who his family could afford more. So when I say Kingsburg, he would get the vibrations. I would go, "Hey, you're never gonna knock Kingsburg down to me." I had a week of being with my family. At the water, I didn't have to worry about. It was
Now it's like a
wonderful.
sewer,
All right,
but
today
back
everything
then
is
it
a
was
sewer,
nice.
but then it was wonderful. And Dolly and Paulie across the street, who their door was always open. They didn't care if you were 10, 20, 30 people. Come on, we got such and such. You can't renew that. That's a hard thing to renew. So when we hit Kingsburg, it was good.
You remember this? Remember the
Whenever she saw me, she would say, "Bella Foch," beautiful face. And I said to my mother, "She's saying Bella Fat. She's calling me fat, you know, fat, you know." She's like, "No, that's not what it means." I'm like, I didn't like her, but I didn't know what she was saying,
Yes,
you know.
but Grandma Diomede,
She didn't
When
like
she-
any of the Sicilians.
Grandma
I didn't know
Diomede
that,
used to
really.
babysit, and I was young. I was
Lord,
very
Jenny
young.
liked me.
And your mother used to say, "You have to go downstairs and stay to make sure that Grandma don't doze while she's watching the kids." So I always went down with your grandma, and your grandma and me would occupy Edward and Mary Ann. If we had a babysit, I had to be there, period. And her and I would do these things with the kids. And my grandchildren, every one of them know. I said, I don't know if we're saying anything bad. However, it's what your grandma Diomede taught me.
And I wanted to talk to her, you know.
So the Diomede children, so 4 boys and 1 girl. Joseph never got married, right?
No.
And he died like what? Was he in his 70s when he died?
No, younger.
60s?
Yeah.
And then Paul married,
Dolly.
what was her name?
Adeline.
Adeline what?
That's my
With
name.
a P, Petretti. What was it?
Adeline Petretti, yeah.
Petretti.
Which was, she's my godmother, so Adeline is my middle name. None of my children could spell it. All educated. They still can't spell it.
Out. I mean, I didn't know that.
So they had how many children? Paul and Dolly.
Dolly. They had
I remember it
Ann Jane, 1 girl.
That was their oldest.
And Anthony
No,
and
Anthony
Paul,
was old.
3 children.
3 children.
Yeah, Anthony was oldest.
Yeah. And then Ann Jane, and then Paul.
And then Aunt B had how many children?
2 boys.
2 boys. What's their names?
One is Douglas, and one is Edward
And what was their last name?
Hines, K-E-I-N-S.
Hines. And what do we know where they are now? Where they live? Like what
Yeah.
state?
One lives in Massachusetts and one lives in Washington, D.C.
Hey, bye.
Oh, you leaving me?
No, I have my car. I'm leaving a little later.
Sorry, it was so good to see you.
You too. Take care of yourself.
You too.
Bye-bye, sweetheart. Good girl.
See you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Did you say bye to Aunt Jerry too?
Yes, she double kissed me.
Oh, bye, honey. Oh, that's a first.
Bye, my love.
Oh, she's sweet.
Right.
She is such a sweet girl.
She's sweet.
So, two boys. How do you spell Kynes?
Keins.
And you said, I'm sorry, you said they were in Massachusetts?
One
And
is in Massachusetts. Edward's in Massachusetts, and the other one's in Washington, D.C., the borderline.
and then Uncle Jimmy and you. And
We had 2 children.
you, Jimmy and
Cheryl.
Cheryl. And then, of course, my father and my mother had 4. As far as like when you first came into the family, like what do you remember like coming into the Diomede family? You have any memories or stories that we can tell on a video
I think.
about
I must have got about 20 letters before I went there.
20 letters from Uncle
begging
Jimmy?
me to go visit his family.
So he was in the
Because he
army,
was in the army
and he was writing you.
every day,
So were you engaged when he was in the army, or just going out?
just going out whenever he came here.
And you were living where? What town were you in?
Hackensack.
Hackensack's where you grew up?
Yeah, where I was born.
Too pretty. Take your hand off your face. Stop.
Did you go to Hackensack High School?
Yes, I did.
And so you're in Hackensack, and Uncle Jimmy is
Hobo.
and living in Hoboken. He's writing to go visit his parents because he
Wanted me to
wants
meet his family.
to get more serious.
Yeah, because he wanted to get married.
And so did you ever go without him and visit?
No, I never did.
You never went. So he came back. What year did he come back from the service?
In 1943. For 44, we got married.
So he was out of the army at 43?
No, we got married during the war.
So you got married during the war. So you
See,
met
I didn't know that.
in 43 and you got married in 43?
44.
44.
What was your date that you got married?
October 29th, 1944.
There we go with the 29.
Right, the
again.
29th.
Wait, Anthony,
No.
where did Uncle Jimmy serve? Where did he work?
Oh, in California when he called, when we got married. We got married in Hackensack. He came on a furlough.
He came on a furlough and he was stationed in California?
Yes.
Did he ever go overseas or he
No,
stayed in
he never
California?
went overseas because he was in a maneuver accident.
A maneuver accident
Yeah, his truck turned over, and he was in a hospital. And
in
that was
California?
after we were married.
Oh, after.
Yeah.
So he came back, you got married, and then he went right back to California?
No, then we went right into Oklahoma. I traveled with him.
So then you started traveling with him.
I lived 1 month in Oklahoma, then he was shipped to Texas, and I lived there 6 months.
And then when did he have the accident? In Texas?
Yes, in Texas.
So then he was in a hospital in Texas for a few months?
Yeah, and I lived alone in an apartment.
And then after that,
He was discharged.
on being injured, medical discharge.
Right.
And so then you moved back to Jersey?
Yes, I did.
And you lived where with him?
In Hackensack, in my mother's house for two or 3 weeks, and then we got an apartment right in Hackensack.
In Hackensack. And so then the war came to an
It
end
ended while I was in Texas.
while you were in Texas. Okay. And then, is that when he was discharged, when the war
Yes.
ended?
Right.
And then you came back and you lived in Hackensack. And then did you move from Hackensack to Elmwood Park?
After 10 years.
So you're 10 years in Hackensack.
Right.
So from like 46, is that the right year that you moved to Hackensack?
Jimmy was 4 years old when we moved.
So what year?
What year was
54?
Jimmy born?
1950.
So they moved in 60.
No.
54, 1954. I moved.
54 you moved. And you've been in Elmwood Park since then, right?
Right, 59 years.
Wow.
34 years alone.
So when was the first time that you remember going over to the Diomedes' apartment and meeting
My
them?
husband came home on a furlough once. He took me there.
And this was, you weren't married yet?
No, we weren't married.
Right. So he took you over there and you met the whole crew, or like my father was off in the Navy, or
Oh, no, your father, I met him the first day. I
the
met
first
my
day,
husband.
right? So then when you went to meet the whole family,
And he took a girl out that was with me.
Not my mom.
No, it wasn't your mother.
so
She's dead. She's dead today,
You remember
Mary
this
Ann.
picture?
What?
Oh, he's not with somebody
No.
from Miami?
That was a
But he
picture
married
of Grandma's
Mommy, so
house.
he
It was her parents or Grandpa's parents?
Wait a minute.
You have any idea?
I think it was his grandpa's
I think
family.
he's a Diomede.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he looks like somebody, one of them.
John, he's got like this is
Yeah.
John's.
That picture
Yeah.
was in their apartment.
Well, it was actually a big picture. I
Yeah,
had
it was in a
redone.
was it in an oval frame?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it.
But we don't know who they are.
No.
Yeah, Josephine, that's the picture I was talking
Oh,
about.
I got this in my album.
I thought
Yeah.
that was, I thought Paulie had on the uniform, but he didn't.
No, he was never in service, honey. I got all these pictures. Got a whole album of him.
Who posted the source of these pictures, you know?
Yes, I have a funny story to tell, but concentrate on Aunt Josephine, and then if you have any left over, come to me.
Well, I wanted to, ask if you want to think, we can let you think about any memories or stories that you can think of back when that you would like to share with us about the Diomedes or the type, coming into the family or something like that. You want to think about it for a while? We can go to Marianne's story, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Come up with something
This
good.
is
Friggin' full.
this is a funny / terrible story, but Mommy and Daddy, Aunt Joe, Aunt Joe,
Can't hear either.
I know, Aunt Joe, my mom and Dad would always go over to Grandma and Uncle Joe's apartment at 508 Jackson Street in Hoboken, and they would clean and do things. So one day,
She just said the same thing.
the same
oh
thing.
really? Oh my
Yeah,
God!
after they finished, my husband and his sister B, every Saturday morning, he used to go pick her up, and they used to clean the whole house.
It had to be
Okay,
done
they were-
twice a week.
They
Hello.
were good children. Okay.
They were good
But
children.
here's the funny thing. One night, it was nighttime, my parents left all of us to go do whatever they did over there. And so they said, you'll be okay, the four of us, you'll be okay. But something happened, I can't remember, and I had to get in touch with them. No cell phones or anything like that. So I remember that Annie, remember Annie? Had a
Yes.
phone. Grandma and Uncle Joe didn't have a phone,
No, they never had.
but
Oh.
Annie had a phone. So I said, let me try and get in touch with them. It was really important, like an emergency. So I call up 411. There you go. Can you give me the phone number of Annie Chamarel? And they go, remember this? How do you spell that? I don't know. I was like a kid. Chamarel, phonetically. Sha, S-H-A-M-A-D-E-L-L-E. Chamarel. And they're like, I'm sorry, we don't have any listing on that number. And I was like getting so upset because I didn't know. So, well, anyway, my parents finally, I was crying. I don't know what was wrong. I was crying. They finally came home. It was really late. And said to my mother, Mom, I tried to call Annie Chaminel. Like, she goes, what are you talking about? Like, what number did you call? I said, I called 411 Annie Chaminel, S-H-A, Dave. And she goes, she went hysterical laughing. She's like, that's not her name. I said, what's her name? She's like, Annie Romano. I go, how would I ever know that you called her Annie Chaminel? She goes, Chaminel means like dirty pig or something. Like she was like dirty. Not that my mother made that up, but she was like
That was
dirty.
her name.
That was, everybody called her Annie Chaminel. It means like dirty pig. And I'm like, oh, my mother almost peed her pants because Chaminel just, it wasn't, that was her nickname that somebody gave her. And it was like, she was on the first floor. They were on like the third floor. She was the only person who had a phone. So I'm like, Annie Chaminel. She's like, what did you tell the operator?
That's why I have
No, shy. And my mother, who usually
That's
would have
Uncle
been
Joe.
mad at me, was
That's Uncle Joe's
hysterical
Joe.
laughing.
They gave my